Yeah, I mean, dude, it was just absolutely brutal. Like it's crazy how went to go have some fun time in bed, and then just before you know it, it's all said and done. Your foot is just sliced open. Yeah, I don't know how much of that got. I don't know how, if okay, we are starting to roll. Okay, cool. But yeah, moral of the story, just be careful where you step.
Just imagine the Peter Griffin just
for like 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
No, not 40 minutes. I mean, we'll let people decide how long that is. Even
how
though
long you were laying on the floor,
even though probably
with a boner.
Even though probably no one knows any context of that. I don't even want to clarify. We'll just go ahead.
Yeah, they don't even deserve it. Well, we're back. It's almost like we never left.
Yeah, and also Jack in the Box didn't sponsor me last week, so or last week, yesterday. So we're trying something healthier today.
Yeah, this is episode 2 of not being sponsored by Liquid Death, but you know what? Still hoping. So once again, we're I know this is pulling the curtain back, and I'll probably say this every episode, but we continue to deal with technical difficulties because we try to use gear. Look, we watch podcasts all the time and don't realize that the people that are doing this have like $10,000 worth of gear, and we're just like, yeah, we'll do it with a few $100. And turns out that it's hard. We also decided, by the way, for all these people out here, to get this out, if you're going to start a podcast, any idiot can start a podcast. That's why we're doing it. But if you want to start an in-person, multicam, fancy, sexy, slick podcast, let me just tell you, if you don't have the money
or the sexiness,
then it's going to be a bitch. Because anyone could download Riverside and then just do the Zoom podcast, or like the old-fashioned audio podcast, like, our good friend Jim Cornette, or who I listen to as I go to bed every night.
He said, yeah, his good friend Jim Cornette.
My good friend Jim Cornette, who I listen to every single night before I go to bed, which probably explains a lot.
We have the sexiness, we just don't have the money.
Yeah, so it's like, what that reminds me of? No, that's like the joke. Like when All Time Low was all like, Tom DeLonge just said we're like a less funny Blink-182, but that's okay because we have bigger dicks. I'm like, that's not funny. You can't make a joke about you having a bigger dick. There's no comedy in that.
No, your dick has to be like half an inch in order to be funny. Honestly, like if all of Blink has tiny dicks, like as if I couldn't love them even more.
Yeah. It's like you can't just you would have to say like, oh yeah, we're a less funny Blink-182 and we have smaller dick. Like that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but also I don't go to All Time Low for comedy or really anything. But at the same time,
see, that's my problematic thing of choice is how much this man has seen Skillet live. I have seen All Time Low live more.
Yeah. So I mean,
I love me my pop punk stage banter very much.
Look, and well, no one does Blink-182. I was literally watching some of the Urethra Chronicles. I was watching the clip, where Tom is talking about Travis's tattoos,
yeah,
and everything. It's like, oh, hope. Like, I hope I can sleep with him. like, can I say that? Like, there's so many things like that are not appropriate anymore. But luckily, we have all that on tape. So,
Blink-182 forever and ever.
Yeah. So for anyone watching this, and you got to grow up with the OG Blink-182 all the way through their first wave, up through the Untitled.
Congratulations, you were raised right.
It was a golden age and everything. And you know what? Luckily, I feel like they're one of the holdouts. They can still get away with that stuff. What just annoyed me so much is like when they did their thing at Coachella, and then you had all these people that are just like, ew, like. They could say that, like, it's like you clearly don't know what you're witnessing. You clearly
grew up in a generation of Among Us, Fortnite, and autism, and all those things are okay, but
especially the last one.
Yeah, last one. Oh, dude, yeah, I'm so on the love all about that tism. No trouble.
But it's just like one of those, like, I don't know. It's let the thing be the thing. It's some harmless dick jokes on stage.
In front of all these flower girls and, 100 and however many people show up to Coachella. But
Yeah, you knew what you were getting yourself into.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, then I don't think you deserve to be in that crowd because I watched it from a live stream and I was very jealous. And by the way, I'll say this, I'm very proud. I usually don't get FOMO of a lot of things. There are exceptions. WrestleMania is one of those things. Big FOMO guy with that. Big FOMO if like your favorite band's in town, but it's one of those things where there's like a band that I really fuck with and they're in town and I miss it. I'm like, whatever. Or a Raw or SmackDown, fine. But like I've done a lot of work to bring my FOMO down. I don't know if you could say the same, but I'm just
considering I go to shit.
This guy goes to so much shit
every week, and you know I've officially reached the level or class of just being like I will find a way in. And I don't know if that sounds like, oh, you know, I'm above people now. Like, no, I try not to, but you know, thankfully, just through knowing a decent amount of people, it's like, okay, I could probably shoo my way into this in some way, shape, or form. That's not always the case, but you know, I mean, it depends on who it is. I'll, you know, haul ass to go for. When it comes to wrestling stuff, you know, aside from the fun NXT event that we went to, like, that's still something that is TBD that I can't, you know, weasel my way into, like, you know, trying to think of someone that's weaseled their way into the Royal Rumble before.
He's a guest list hoe.
Yeah.
It's like, put me on that guest list. Put me on that. Yeah, but there are so many times where just like, there will be times where you'll be like, oh, like, I don't have money, or there will be things because we're both in music and all that stuff. There's just like, oh, there's these sick plugins I want to get and everything. It's like, well, there's no wonder you can't afford them. I mean, like, you were at Green Day last week. What
Green
was that?
Day next week.
Yeah. What? There was some crazy week where I was like, you were at Green Day twice. You had some other shit going on. It's just like,
yeah,
this guy's out and about.
Literally in September, went to go see Green Day. By the way, I want to mention, like, not all the time does my, you know, does the fun times of that really happen, because I went to go see Green Day. And then an hour later, when we're walking back to the car, like, my car is broken into, and that's, you know, $1,500 that I had to throw around with all the things because they tried to hijack it and all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
but you know, then like I wasn't living too far away from Jimmy Kimmel Live Studios at the time. I was just walking in and out, and I hear Jimmy Kimmel go, Green Day, and everyone cheering, and I, you know, climb a tree, and I saw them. I mean, you know, and then got hit up to be like, hey, do you want our Green Day box in San Diego at the stadium? And, you know, me and my girlfriend like went to we watched them from a VIP box and all that stuff. So like, yeah, I don't know. It's just sometimes fun stuff happens. Other times you get your car broken into. Yeah. And
so that's like the real Green Day experience though, because they're from the Bay Area. And if anyone knows anything about the Bay Area, that's where your shit gets rocked, like with your cars. Like, how many times, I can't tell you how many friends that I have that have gone to San Francisco for a show and then had a window busted, something like that. That's just,
it's part of the experience.
Yeah, it's part of the experience. But like, yeah, no, you're definitely out doing stuff. I'm definitely more of the, see, I don't want to say I'm an introvert. What's that term? It's like ambivert, where you just kind of can go back and forth or whatever. I am the one that sort of just like needles away in my little cave, and then I get pulled out to things. And then, but this is where we play to our strengths and everything. So I'm just like nerding out over some shit over here. And then he can be the social one that goes out and
sucks everyone's dick to be like, hey, please get me into this and this and this.
And then for every like 1 out of 20 things he does, he'll be able to get me into something. And then,
yeah,
it
exactly. It all works out. You know, it's like usually I'm trying to like weave my way into not doing that less, but to doing it on a way where it's like, it's a little bit more professional. Like, for instance, like, so like, you know, Warped Tour is coming back, and that's happening this summer. And I saw that like they just opened a thing for like Battle of the Bands stuff. So it's like you could technically play your way in, and like things like that. And then, you know, eventually I think there's like a grand prize of like 100K plus like a few record label meetings and all that fun stuff, which I know you've had some record label meetings yourselves, but
can I tell you, maybe this is just a theme of a podcast. Every podcast I will have a confession of a secret. Last one was the hair transplants. This one.
Yeah.
I have grown up my entire life. Blink-182 was my first favorite band, loving pop punk and everything and loving all that stuff. I have never in my 30 plus years been to Warped Tour, which I feel like a fucking mad poser about.
Yeah. Yeah, but did you go? I mean, you probably spent most of your time going to like. I mean, did you go to like Mayhem? Or
Yeah. So
see, I've never done that.
Yeah. Okay. So it evens out. The thing is, we had very different upbringings in the sense of like I grew up in a very small like beach town that was in the central coast of California. And we weren't around any. The closest arena I think was maybe like Bakersfield, but other than that, it's basically San Francisco, San Jose, and then Los Angeles. And I'd grown up earlier as a kid in San Jose, so I did get to go to some cool stuff then. But by the time I was like 11, 12, when you really start getting into your own music and all that, I was already living in a small town. My parents would not like take me to nothing. So I had to find my own, ways around stuff. So I never got to go to any of that stuff. However, my friends were really into metal. I'm like one of the only ones in my friend group from back home that really loves pop punk. So when it came to going to stuff and being able to invest, well, it's like, okay, well, everyone wants to go to Mayhem, so we can definitely do that. So Mayhem, Rockstar, Uproar tours, like all that, or Energy tour, like all that stuff, we did. But when it came to pop punk, I basically, just had to fuck off and not do anything. And then when I came to Los Angeles, I was finally able to like be around that stuff and start seeing some of my first, like seeing some of those bands for the first time. I think like one of the first Warped Tour bands I think I actually saw here with outside of Blink-182 was Lost Prophets. Which
hey, you know what? There was a banger Jeff Hardy monologue or fucking video with him. But that's it.
My favorite genre of YouTube is Jeff Hardy thirst traps. So
Yeah.
I was telling him the other day because he's learning Premiere. I was like, just make Jeff Hardy thirst traps. Just make.
Yeah, and there is no better one. There's no better Jeff Hardy thirst trap than that one with Lost Prophets. I feel like we have to bleep their name out or something like that. Not that I don't know, but
yeah. So I mean, fuck that guy. But at the same time, like it. So being able to come to LA was like a whole new world. Whereas you grew up in LA.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I also kind of the same thing. Like, my family was never down to give me rides to places. So the only difference is like, well, there is at least a public transportation, a shitty public transportation, but a public transportation system out here alone that like, I can at least get from point A to almost point B to still almost point B. All right, now we're at point B. 5 crackhead interactions later as like a 15-year-old. I'm at the Green Day show.
Now, can you think, here's a fun one, like your first concert and your first wrestling event?
Yeah. So they were both at the Staples Center. My number one, my only real conservative belief that I'm like, it's going to be this way forever, no changes, is it's always going to be called the Staples Center and not the Crypto.com Arena. Fuck that shit.
Yeah. And fuck crypto, and fuck that guy that stole $1,000 out of my crypto wallet by calling me and getting into my email last September. Fuck you.
There you go.
Everyone invest in a password protection, whatever the thing is. This is the sponsor part where I would talk about like 1Password or VPN or whatever, but we don't have a sponsorship.
LifeLock, where you at? My first show was Linkin Park.
That's a good notch.
It was Linkin Park, and then Coheed and Cambria was the opener. I think I got there as they were getting off stage, but I was 12. We sat in the very top row, and it was the Minutes to Midnight tour.
Ooh, nice.
So that was my first show. My first wrestling show, I believe, trumps. Oh my God, why did I say that word? It overshadows every other first show that anyone has ever had, probably in our generation, and that is April 3rd, 2005, WrestleMania 21.
Very jealous of that one. I wanted to go to that so bad, but once again, I was like 4 hours away. I was probably 12 at the time or something, did not have a lot of money, could not make that happen, so I watched it on pay-per-view. Yeah, no, definitely like...
Literally, like, the entire world of WWE just, like, switched on its head that day. Like, Edge became a star, first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. Taker Orton, which that was probably the first major threat to Taker's undefeated streak, was Orton. Shawn and Kurt, one of the greatest matches of all time. John Cena won his very first world title. Batista won his very first world title. And actually, maybe it's not Linkin Park. Motorhead, I saw perform Triple H out to the ring as a
Oh, that's pretty
9-year-old.
sick.
So
That's cool. Well, all right. So I would say, yeah, because the first concert I'm gonna count, because you go to things that your parents, might take you to or drag you to, or something like that, when you're younger. So I'm gonna go with the first concert that I went to on my own that I paid for, which I was like 12 turning 13 or 13 turning 14, something like that. Remember, a lot of stuff doesn't come near us, so but Avenged Sevenfold, actually they would probably be on my Mount Rushmore too, is Avenged Sevenfold, which we'll get into some whole stories later. I've met them several times, like great dudes and everything, and then I got to befriend some people in that camp and everything, and I have a song. It's a whole thing. We'll get there. But growing up, so my first concert that I ever paid for was Avenged Sevenfold at the Cal Poly Rec Center or something like that in San Luis Obispo. And what was cool at the time is I didn't really know much about Avenged. This is during one of their first like big tours after their major label debut with City of Evil. But it was like Bullets and Octane was playing, I think. But the big one for me was CKY.
oh my god,
And
CKY.
and growing up, like Viva La Bam, CKY, like Jackass, that was such a massive part of growing up. I literally follow Viva La Bam like Instagram accounts all the time just to like rewatch that stuff. It like blew anyone that grew up around that time period that watched MTV. That was the shit. So going there to see CKY and then staying for Avenged Sevenfold was just like an absolute like game changer. Like opened the floodgates, and then after that, I was just in it forever. So that was the first show that I went to, and I remember the ticket was like $16.
I'll do you one better. The first time I saw Sevenfold was completely free because you just had to stand in line. This was 2013. You just had to stand in line. It was for their Hail to the King album release party, and they played for 2 hours, no opener.
That's sick.
But I mean, there was no reverend. So
I remember like I was at it was also free, and I met them at the time that they did the Capitol Records thing.
Yeah.
Where they played on top. Here's my my notch is that I've seen Avenged with every drummer they've had.
that is flex.
So
that is a hard flex.
Yeah. So and like we got to meet them that day. I also met Jess Margera that day. From CK. I remember this is 2005, and we're like 12-year-old kids, and at the time, like we didn't have these like smartphones where you like you take selfies together. My friend Max literally just walked up to Jess Margera with his flip phone and just went click, like just shoved the phone in his face, like didn't even take a picture with him. Just like,
Dude, I would have taken that phone and just fucking Tom Brady'd that thing.
yeah, and that in the clip and because when we looked at the picture, it's all blurry and pixelated, right? Because it's a fucking flip phone from 2005. Jess is just like. like totally disgusted.
Dude, imagine if you did that to what's someone
like
that's,
Ronnie Radke.
or I was gonna say like Justin Bieber that just has all these lashes on, but yeah, Ronnie Radke. Imagine.
But yeah, no, I shout out Falling Reverse. No, but my first wrestling event I think is actually a pretty sick one. It's not WrestleMania 21. All right, but my rare notch is that I'm old enough to have the distinction of going to a WWF event, and on my Mount Rushmore, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm sure we'll have like a huge dissection of Mount Rushmores at some point, and I got to see him as a heel face Kurt Angle, which is one of their favorite matches ever on pay-per-view. I got to see The Rock versus Booker T. This is right as the Attitude Era is sort of slowing down and the invasion is starting and all that stuff. And I had never been in a huge arena like that before. And the package opens, the theme song for that pay-per-view was Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
That's right. Yeah.
And I remember being whatever I was, like 8 years old or something like that. And then the lights go off and I'm high up in the nosebleeds and I've never been to anything like this. And then it's like, let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in the floor? And like,
that is some core memory shit.
Blew my mind. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Well, the other thing too is when you're a kid and you're in an arena for the first time, you're in the nosebleeds, you're like, oh, I'm so like, it feels like you're gonna fall over.
Yeah,
and
I do remember that about WrestleMania 21. I was like, please, for the love of God, like someone catch me. Like, I don't care if there's 20 rows right in front of me. Like, I'm going over. Like,
Yeah, and then on top of that, you don't expect it to be that loud, and then the pyro and everything.
dude, the pyro scared the fucking
Yeah.
shit out of me as a 8 or 9-year-old. I was like, I was a little pussy as an 8 or 9-year-old. I was
I
about,
still
I
am.
was literally, yeah, I still am, but at least I don't cry anymore when the pyro hits. I'll get a little sniffly, but
I remember Booker T's pyro being so hot and it was so far away. So I mean, Kane, when he came out at yours and everything, like the ladders were on fire.
they were on fire,
right?
but also like there were some special entrances that like they don't usually get pyro. Like I remember Shelton Benjamin had pyro, and I was pissed off. I was like, why did they do that? He doesn't usually get fireworks. Like,
yeah.
That's
Calling it
WrestleMania.
fireworks at the
Yeah, just hate on the fireworks.
It's
the way
pyro.
that JR hates on Triple H, like I'm cursing
You
at the
son of a
fireworks.
bitch.
You son of a bitch.
God save your soul.
Yeah.
No, but I think between SummerSlam and I remember like I got like a Kane mask and a Brahma bull belt, like the little cheap foam ones. So, and on top of that, I got to see Jeff Hardy, one of my other goats, like against RVD, who was one of my favorite wrestlers forever too. So that card across the board, I think still like stands up to this day. And look, I know people aren't a fan of it. I like the invasion angle.
Yeah, it was good. It was, I mean, it's something that I didn't really grow up in, so I don't really get the context of the hate. I think when you look back at something that you weren't really watching at the time that wasn't like dog shit horrible, it was, I mean, shit, it was interesting to watch. I'm sure there were other ways they could have gone to like book that, but
you're less critical when you're a kid too. So for me, like as the little kid and everything, I'm just excited to see Stone Cold and Jeff Hardy for the first time. So I don't really care about the nuances of WCW being bought and watered down, and the fact that now I'm seeing Booker T here when he was on the other show like 6 months before or whatever. So none of that really occurred to me. I was just like, wrestling, like
wrestling.
This is cool.
5-star frog splash.
Yeah.
Swanton bomb. Whoa!
Dude,
how did he do that?
Dude, I remember during the Jeff Hardy match just being so enthralled seeing Jeff, like I always am and everything. And I was going for Jeff. There was a guy behind me, right? And to this day, I will never forget this.
Oh, I have one to match this. Go ahead.
But like I remember he was basically, I was like cheering Jeff Hardy, and then he's like RVD. And I was like, no, Jeff Hardy, RVD. And then I decided to turn around and start like fucking arguing with him or whatever. And I was just like, you really think RVD's gonna win? And then and by the way, RVD did win. And then he was like, he's like, kid, he's like, one day you'll learn. One day you'll learn how this works or whatever. And I just remember like when RVD won, I just remember being like, oh, he was right. And I just remember at that point, like. And now you can kind of see how booking works when you're an adult. Like you could see like ahead and be like, oh, this is what they're doing. This is like where they're going for. As a kid, someone said the other day that like with the Rumble, if you're a kid, you don't really have like you have who you think anyone could win.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Like, so if
there's an 8-year-old out there right now that thinks LA Knight is going to win the 2025 Royal Rumble, like hands down.
Exactly. Like, and it's kind of crazy to think that like how some of that stuff changes, but like literally when you're a kid, Santino Marella enters the Rumble and he's like last, and it's him and Alberto Del Rio. You're
telling me there's a chance.
I mean, and to be honest, like I was hoping so bad that happened because I can't my stepdad is from Italy. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, when you're growing up, you think anyone could win, and it turns out that's not the case.
Yeah, it's not the case. But I'm sure in the coming episodes there's gonna be a lot to talk about with the Rumble because that's coming up really soon. So yeah, I think that's gonna be fun. I think there was actually one thing before we even get out of here I wanted to go ahead and ask you about really quick because you told me to remind you at some point. You were telling me that there was a video of the Ultimate Warrior training Asking Alexandria.
Oh yeah. So for any of you that have seen, I think Sumerian Records did it way back. I don't know how many of these there are, but it is a golden piece of footage on YouTube where basically, I think he did it with a few bands, but there's this clip that we always go back and forth. If this is the real, insert it here, where Ultimate Warrior is training a young Asking Alexandria, and he is so overly intense about it. And he's like, 50 fucking years I've been doing this. Fuck.
Is this Danny Worsnop era, or is this
No, this is Danny Worsnop era. Yeah, this is definitely like this is early.
Oh
And
God,
yeah,
those poor Brits.
fuck. It is just like he is just so over the top as as Warrior would be. And I think I don't know, it probably only lasted a few. I know that the president of Sumerian is like a big wrestling fan. I think
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Ash is that?
Yeah.
So once again, I mean but that's what this is all about. We got our wrestling, our rock and wrestling connection, and then all the bullshit in between.
Yeah. Yeah. We gotta mix it in every single week with that stuff. But yeah. Yeah.
How are we even doing on time? See, we're so like because these cameras will just fucking turn on us at any point. Where are we even in this?
We got like a full pop punk song to go.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. What band pop?
I'm thinking like it's like a mid 2000, like probably like a Fall Out Boy Prime From Under the Cork Tree era, like 3.5 minute or 3:15 or 3:16.
I mean that's a good number right there.
Yeah, it's a great number.
3:16.
It's my apartment number.
Hell yeah.
No, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, dox yourself. I was very jealous about that too. One time I lived in an apartment where my apartment number was 315, and I was like, really? I was this close.
See, I knew that when I landed that apartment, you'd be like, okay, it's like hell yeah, Stone Cold. And then when I tell my family my apartment number, they're like, oh, like John 316, huh?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I was wearing an Austin.
just send them the Austin promo link real quick. You thump your Bibles and you're talking to John 316.
I probably have like 6+ Austin shirts, and I was wearing one day walking down Hollywood, and it said Philly 316 because it was from the last WrestleMania. And someone stopped me and they're like, "What does that mean?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a wrestling shirt." And they're like, "No, it's a Bible verse." And I was like, "What does the Philly part mean?" I was like, "Because it was in Philadelphia." And then they're like, "Well, it's a Bible verse." And I was like, "It's a wrestling. It's not exactly what you think it is." And they just kept saying it over, and I was like, "Look, I do not have the time to sit here and walk you through the entire lore of the King of the Ring promo back in 1996 and who Stone Cold Steve Austin is."
But
and
I
everything.
will.
Yes, but if I have to, I will drop these Trader Joe's bags and we will sit down, sir.
Yeah, flip a Stone Cold Stunner on you real quick.
Imagine they were trying to they were trying to bond with me, and then I was like, "Let me tell you about the word."
Let me tell you something, brother.
Yeah, let me tell you something about the word of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And you know what? Neither of us learned anything that day.
Yeah, no, yeah, y'all just kept your views and you went about your day.
Yeah, which maybe that's all. It should
Sometimes
be, so.
it's meant to be. Sometimes you don't have to convert every single person that you see when you just walk up to someone. This is probably for a lot of older heads out there that are like. This is probably for a lot of older heads out there that are in their 40s and 50s that are probably like a little bit more overly judgy, that want to go ahead and walk over to some youngins and talk to them about their hair or why I'm a dude with painted nails or whatnot. Like sometimes you could tell me anything you want and it's just it's not going to change that.
We're still gonna watch Jeff Hardy thirst traps.
Yeah, I'm still gonna be hard to Jeff Hardy, and that's the moral of the story. And that's the moral. Yeah, Hardy. And yeah.
And so that's what we're doing. What are we talking about next time?
Probably how hard I can get to Jeff Hardy.
Not if I get harder first.
Yeah. All right.
sentient